This week we are continuing with our quadrilateral hierarchies. And so here we have a completed hierarchy where it says any polygon with 4 sides is a quadrilateral. And then from there we have a quadrilateral with exactly 1 pair of parallel sides is a trapezoid. A quadrilateral with 2 pairs of parallel sides opposite each other is a parallelogram. And then a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of adjacent sides, which means next to each other, that are congruent is a kite. And then from a parallelogram, we have 2 offshoots. We have a parallelogram with 4 right angles, which is a rectangle. And then we have a parallelogram and a kite with 4 congruent sides, which would be a rhombus. And then from here, we have a rectangle and a rhombus coming down. So a parallelogram or kite with 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides is a square. And we talked about, like how we did last week, that you can trace the lineage of the different quadrilaterals back up to the top. So for example, a square can also be a rhombus and a rectangle. A rhombus can be a kite or a parallelogram, and a rectangle can be a parallelogram. And so a kite, a parallelogram, and a trapezoid are all quadrilaterals. But you can't trace the lineage in reverse because not all parallelograms are rectangles, because not every parallelogram has 4 right angles, so not every parallelogram can be a rectangle. Not every rectangle can be a square because most rectangles do not have 4 congruent sides. But a square can be a rectangle because a square is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. And so what we're going to be doing this week is we're going to be trying to complete some riddles based on the attributes of different quadrilaterals. So for example, this is our first riddle. It gives us a set of clues, and for each clue we get more and more specific in trying to figure out what type of quadrilateral it is. So the first clue is I have 4 sides. So that category would be a quadrilateral. So all quadrilaterals have 4 sides. Our next clue is I have 2 pairs of parallel sides. So we could look at our hierarchy chart, so we know that would have to be then a parallelogram has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So we would write parallelogram. Okay, our next set of clues is I have 4 right angles. Okay, so if I have 4 right angles, that means I would come down here. So my next thing would be a rectangle. Then my last clue is I have 4 congruent sides. So say if I have 4 congruent sides, then I'd come down 1 more, and then I must be a square. So my answer would be a square, that the shape that they described must be a square. So our next one we have is I am a closed figure with 3 or more sides. So this is talking about, now this is covering triangles, which we covered last week in our video. So I'm a closed figure with 3 or more sides, so that would be a triangle. I have exactly 3 sides. So again, that would be a triangle. Okay. Oh, so the first one, sorry, I am a closed figure with 3 or more sides. So 3 or more sides would be a polygon. It can be any type of polygon. And then it gets more specific. I have exactly 3 sides would be a triangle. I have 1 right angle, so that means it would have to be a right triangle. And then none of my sides are congruent. So that means it has to be a scalene triangle. So this would be a right scalene triangle. And so my answer, since I'm out of clues, it must mean that this is a right scalene triangle. Okay, and so we'll do one more together. We'll do riddle 3. It says I have 4 angles. So if it has 4 angles, it's a quadrilateral. I have 2 pairs of parallel sides. So again, that would be a parallelogram. All 4 of my sides are congruent. So let's look at here. So we have our parallelogram, and it says all 4 sides are congruent. So we know that can't be a rectangle, so that must be a rhombus with 4 congruent sides. So I'd write rhombus. And then it says I have no right angles. So if I have no right angles, I can't be a square then if I don't have any right angles. So that means then I must be a rhombus, because a rhombus does not have 4 right angles. So our final answer would be a rhombus. Okay, have a good week.